This is the highest point of Iceland's Eldey volcano, a mostly submarine volcanic edifice, and it's currently undergoing a strong earthquake swarm 3,500 meters to the island's north, at least as of the writing of this video. This area, for reference, is located offshore of the Reykjanes Peninsula's westernmost point, specifically 12.5 kilometers to the west-southwest of that spot. Yet, despite some speculation to the contrary, this earthquake swarm is almost certainly not volcanic in origin, meaning that Eldey is not currently producing its first submarine eruption since 1926. Despite involving nearly 450 earthquakes across an 18-hour time span, including 27 large enough to be potentially felt, these were truly just tectonic in origin. With that being said, there was a sort of volcanic element to them. Confused? While the crust is complex, localized significant changes in its volume or mass can sometimes cause earthquakes not only near the site of such changes, but sometimes even at more distant regional locations. One such volume change is when magma intrudes into the crust which did not exist beforehand, uplifting overlying rock. And the process I just described is exactly what's occurring at the 5 kilometers depth magma chamber of the Reykjanes volcano, where around 21.7 million cubic meters of magma has accumulated. This figure is still increasing each day as the Reykjanes volcano gets closer to its next likely eruption, causing regional stresses in the crust to change slightly, resulting in the series of observed earthquake swarms near the Eldey volcano. With all of this being said, there is the possibility that some form of magma has intruded beneath a section of Eldey's volcanic complex, which encompasses this region at some point since increased regional unrest at multiple nearby volcanoes began in January 2020. Eldey, much like the Brennan 9-foot volcano, just happens to be at the very edge of this area of increased activity, occasionally experiencing earthquake swarms, while the volcanoes at the center of activity produced multiple eruptions in the past few years. However, if any magma has intruded beneath parts of the Eldey volcanic complex, it must be solely within the lowermost ductile crust, where its presence would not generate notable ground deformation. I have identified a dozen earthquake swarms which Eldey has produced since 2020, and if we are going by the number of magnitude 1 or greater earthquakes each event produced, the swarm which began on February 8th would rank second on this list. All of these swarms are presumably tectonic, at least for now, as the Eldey volcano consists of multiple ridges of activity which largely trend to the northeast on portions of a largely divergent plate boundary. All of the aforementioned earthquake swarms have been confined to a singular strip of this boundary where the Eurasian plate to the east is spreading apart from the North American plate to the west. Now, it is still a good idea to keep a close eye on Eldey, as some of the regional volcanoes have historically erupted within a few years to decades of each other when one of them erupted. And with a similar increase occurring as last seen in 1341, now occurring since 2020, it's worth the effort to monitor all of these volcanoes until this increased phase of activity eventually ceases. As for the specifics of the recent earthquake swarms, there were actually two so far in February. One from 9 p.m. local time on February 6th, which ended at 2 a.m. on February 7th, and a stronger one on February 8th, which began around 12:50 p.m. and has been declining ever since. As for the magma still pulling at the Reykjanes volcano, this, in my opinion, is likely to lead to an eruption sometime in the next few months, and it could be on the lengthier side due to the volume of molten rock involved. However, the most likely location for magma to erupt is away from any structures about 5 kilometers northeast of the town of Grindavik, which is partially protected by a series of anti-lava walls. As a final note, I would like to thank this channel's supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members.